When we first started, nobody ever thought that a company our size couldn't compete in a marketplace. Our argument was, if you make the product and it's a good story, it doesn't really matter who produced it. It's just a good show.
And here it is, this tiny little company in St. Louis making this worldwide huge hit.
We're all over the world. I mean, we're in the US, the UK, Australia, China, Austria, Switzerland, France, Italy, Germany, Mexico, Malaysia, Indonesia. You name it, we're there.
And a lot of stations decided they would give Voltron a shot, and the results were phenomenal.
World Events Productions is perhaps best known as the distributor of the classic animated series Voltron, Defender of the Universe. But the company has also been responsible for many innovative productions, discovering new talent, and of course, those memorable theme songs. World Events was founded by Ted Koppler in 1980 as a division of KPLR Channel 11, which at the time was one of the largest independent TV stations in the country.
We went toward the idea of creating programming that might work for us as an independent television station, but might work as for other independent television stations across the United States as well. There was a television show called ABC Wide World of Sports. And so our first thought, well, why would we just relegate ourselves just to sports? Why not try to find the events of the world to cover?
The show was appropriately titled World Events.
Hello and welcome to World Events 80. I'm Bud Palmer, and this charming woman with me is one of the foremost travel authorities in the world, Frances Colton.
Thank you, Bud. In World Events, we'll be looking at fascinating spectacles all over the globe. Today, World Events will take you to France for on-the-spot coverage of the Paris Air Show, for the 35th anniversary of D-Day, and for the French Tennis Open.
A young reporter named Bob Costas was just starting out when Ted Koppler at World Events gave him his big break.
And Bob Costas is on Pavilion Row at the Northrop exhibit.
Despite what your experience with late-night movies might tell you, this is not a fighter plane. And certainly I'm no flying ace. How are you treated here in France? Is it always a good feeling to come back for this event?
You know, they've read a lot about the top players.
The company then turned its sights to animation and children's programming. After seeing the success of localizing Japanese programming for American audiences, World Events found its icon in a Toei animated property known in Japan as Beast King Go Lion, but would soon be known to the rest of the world as Voltron.
Well, I wish I could say animation was my idea, but we had some people working for us who went to an international trade show. And at the show, there was a few Japanese animation series that were available. They came back with 3 shows. We looked at the series and decided, because they were all robotic, that we were going to put together a trilogy of shows called the Voltron Trilogies.
As Ted tells us, the destiny of Voltron was all a bit accidental.
Well, they accidentally, in shipping, sent us a episode of a show called Go Lion, which ultimately became the big success for us in Voltron. And we were able to manage this series where, through editing, putting storyboards, stereophonic sound, which, by the way, those shows were the first of its kind to have stereo, we were able to totally redo the shows in a manner that turned out to be the hit that it was.
With the smashing success of Voltron, World Events was in a unique position of having a mega hit show right out of the gate.
I can remember coming home 3:30 in the afternoon, turning on KPLR, and just getting so engrossed in this world. And what pilot are you? Oh, I'm Keith, I'm the Black Lion. I'm going to be Hunk in the Yellow Lion. We'd take our bikes and race them, pretend that we were in these giant mechanical lions.
More episodes were created to keep up with the syndicated demand after a disappointing showing of what is known as Vehicle Force Voltron.
Yeah, I can remember that, coming home and suddenly Vehicle Force Voltron was on. You know, it was a new, more powerful Voltron. And as a kid, you're like, whoa, what happened to my lion friends? Where's my Lance? Where's my Keith? That was that was sudden for a kid to take. It was hard to get a handle on all those different characters.
You can't forget about your Vehicle Force fans, because there are a lot of them. I've answered hundreds of thousands of emails from Vehicle Force fans just so anxious to see the new DVDs released and to see the upcoming seasons. So I think fans are going to be really happy with what's to come.
Fans of Vehicle Force Voltron are in for a real treat.
The Voltron Lions were the big hit between the two of them. So in order for us to come up with 125 episodes, enough to strip Monday through Friday, we had to remake 26 new episodes very quickly. And so we actually, from scratch, created new lion shows that were done in Korea.
While Voltron fever had exploded, World Events looked to the future and how this tiny company with a huge hit could best compete with the big boys of animation production.
You know, it was such an unbelievable time for all of us at World Events. We became a global company almost within a 6-month period.
In 1986, it was decided that the company's next project would be a localization of Star Musketeer Bismarck, to be called Saber Rider and the Star Sheriffs. Described as Voltron in a futuristic Wild West setting, Saber Rider told the story of Cavalry Command battling the lawless Outriders on the frontiers of space. Star Sheriffs Fireball, Colt, April, and Saber Rider himself were able to pilot a giant robot known as the Ramrod Equalizer Unit against the evil Nemesis's Renegades, a Robeast-like monster. Saber Rider featured incredible action sequences and some delicate editing to push what was a supporting character in the Japanese series to the main character.
I was down with the Saber Rider just as much as I was down with Voltron. I can remember catching those episodes and just thought there was so much imagination that went in, and whenever they'd get together and form the big robot called Ramrod, it was just like Voltron. It's definitely worth a look.
Sensing the animation market was changing, Ted decided the series needed an interactive edge in some markets over the competition.
Saber Rider was not as strong a show as Voltron. And so the idea became let's make Saber Rider an interactive television show. We teamed up with an international toy company called Ideal Loisirs of France, and they actually produced a toy that would interface with a television show.
The futuristic Saber Rider proved to be no Voltron in the ratings, so for World Events' next project, they looked towards the prehistoric past. A family comedy series would be created about the adventures of a lovable dinosaur named Denver, who befriends a group of kids in California, all while keeping their dino discovery a secret. Denver the Last Dinosaur was the first time World Events produced the animation in-house, and Tom Burton's Calico Studios was given the task of bringing the world to life. Featuring advanced rotoscoping animation and layering techniques, Denver was an evolution in children's programming.
I remember that being on in the morning on KPLR, waking up and watching that, and just having that theme song stuck in my head all day.
The funny thing is as a child, I wasn't a huge Voltron fan. My brother used to ride home every day on his bike and run to watch Voltron, but I was more of a Denver fan. So I was the, singing the theme song along with the rest of the world, which I still get fans that call me up and sing me the theme song.
I think one of the things that people remember about the show was the theme song. Dale Schacter's work, it really became something that was a hook, and you remembered.
Denver was a big hit with parents and educators alike and was actually endorsed as recommended viewing by the National Education Association. It was decided that for World Events' next outing, they would return to the roots of fantasy and adventure. Like Denver, Vitor the Starfire Champion was produced by Tom Burton's Calico and featured state-of-the-art animation techniques. But with the animation bubble about to burst and without a toy deal, Vitor was only seen in a few select markets. The fan support for Voltron still simmered, and in 1997, the classic series returned to the airwaves as the new Adventures of Voltron on Cartoon Network. In addition, a new animated series would be created in cooperation with Mike Young Productions, Netter Digital, and St. Louis toy maker Trendmasters that would incorporate cutting-edge 3D animation techniques.
We came up with the idea of let's try to do a new Voltron series in 3D. the good news, it's also the bad news. It's the first of its kind.
It was the first animated series done completely in 3D CGI and produced in the U.S. It did well, but unfortunately I think fans still prefer the original 2D series.
I remember really liking the show as far as the memories it brought back of classic Voltron, but the animation was a little cold. The 3D was early on, so it kind of reminded me of a video game introduction on like a PlayStation game, so it lacked the warmth of the traditional 2D animation. But there's actually some interesting storylines that are worth checking out for Voltron fans in there. It serves as a sequel to the original classic series and kind of continues the adventures. You've got Lotor, who's been injured in this explosion. He's all cybernetic and Hagar, and King Zarkon has actually turned to the good side. So there's a lot of things in Voltron, the Third Dimension, for fans to check out.
Voltron, the Third Dimension, was seen as too much of a departure. However, the production did manage to take home an Episodic Series Emmy for excellence in sound design. Future projects for the company include a live-action motion picture based on Voltron, to be produced by Mark Gordon and New Regency. The movie promises to create a new mythology around the Voltron legend and be the first of many Voltron big-screen adventures.
And we're all very excited about it. I think the thing that is interesting is kind of trying to put the old with the new and the elements of this movie and what it's going to be, and the look, the feel of the show.
It's really going to be a major, major event. We've got a great group of people working on the production, people who have been fans for life, so they're putting everything into this production. And I really think the end product will show that these are true fans behind the cameras, in front of the cameras, and that's what we want. We try to license out our properties to people who are really going to take care of them, people that are fans because they put the extra attention and detail into the product.
The Voltron universe is about ready to explode with new activities, so I just encourage fans to keep checking Voltron.com, and we really are going to make that the one-stop shop for all things going on in the universe of Voltron.